Welcome to Talkin Maine with I'm Saviello, and I'm back again, and I have my good friend, the Representative Scott Landry. Scotty.
Good morning. Good
morning. Morning. Great having you on.
Good to be here.
Congratulations, or condolences, one or the other, on getting reelected.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You know, this is a full-time job.
I know well. If you do it right, which I know you do, it is a full-time job.
It certainly is.
Because it's not what you do in Augusta, as I've always said, it's what you do at home for people and how you help them out.
Yeah, it's amazing the calls I get every day on all kinds of issues. And I'm getting to the point where I'm getting them from Oxford, I'm getting them from all kinds of communities. How'd you get my name? Well, somebody said you're the one to talk to. Well,
what it comes down to is that they feel your reputation that you do something is ahead of you. And so when that word gets out, because somebody lives in Farmington but has a friend in Oxford County and they don't know who to turn to, they say, well, call Scott Landry, and he should be able to help you out.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yesterday afternoon, within a half an hour, I had 2 phone calls from people looking to get vaccinations. One of them being ski patrol at Sugarloaf. They consider themselves first responders. And so we're working on that to see what we can do. And another one is Franklin Printing. They're doing the printing for Abbott Labs and in the testing protocol. And they feel if they're shut down, then that's a big break in that whole chain. So, but within a half an hour, 2 different total entities looking, everybody wants the vaccine.
And we had a show on last week where we talked about the vaccine, and I actually had contacted Janet because I had an 82-year-old woman contact me, afraid that she'd missed something. And the trouble that Janet's got right now, our governor, is that there aren't enough shipments coming into us. We're being shorted. In other words, if we were supposed to get 30,000 shots, we only get 15,000. Yeah. So these ideas are really good ideas, but her goal is to get the hospital workers done, and the ambulance workers, and then the nursing homes done, those very susceptible people. And then I just see, you and I have just moved into the 1B category, being old.
Yeah, we are kind of old.
You know, I'm going to tell my doc, I said, you give it to somebody else until time that you have enough to give to me. But I mean, my goal is to get the shot so I can go visit my granddaughter.
Yeah, well, where I'm going to be going to, as a lead, I'm going to be going to Augusta for 4 times a week. I am not a big fan of getting shots, but I'm ready for this one if I'm going to be down there.
So speaking of Augusta, you're all sworn in.
Oh, yes. That was really unimpressive. I feel sorry for the newly elected legislators who missed the whole pomp and circumstance. You know, we're all in the Civic Center, this big, cold, unfriendly building, and it just wasn't fun, you know. And the new guys are really missing it, the camaraderie, the relationships you're building. That's how you pass legislation, is through building relationships. And these guys are behind the 8 ball because they're not experiencing it.
So have you been into the floor of this house at all since you've been sworn in?
No.
Do they have a plan? So basically, we'll talk about how bill becomes law, but I'm assuming the referencing is being done by leadership into the committees.
Yes.
So they have the priority under the rules to actually send them to the committee, where you don't have to come into session, make the motion to move them into the committee, and then move them accordingly.
Yeah. It's really different. There are so many Zoom meetings. I've got another 3-hour Zoom training, a chair training. It's the second one this week. But it's just one Zoom meeting right after the other, and it's really challenging. It's hard to pay attention, sit there and look at yourself on a screen for 3 hours and not lose track of what's going on.
Wow. So how many bills are there in this time?
Around 2,000.
Oh, wow. Well, that's about normal. That's about
normal. A lot of the bills that didn't get enacted last year, of course, have come back. A lot of duplicate bills, too. I'm the chair on IF&W.
IF&W is Inland Fisheries and Wildlife.
Right. And I see a lot of duplication in the bills. There'll be a lot of bills relating to doe permits. I know there's a big controversial bill regarding coyote hunters trespassing on folks' land. Another challenging one right off quick is going to be decibel levels for airboats on the Harrisseekit River.
Wow.
You've got all these expensive homes on the river, and you get clamors out there at 4 o'clock in the morning with loud boats, airboats, like they have in the Everglades. And you know, those people don't like to be woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I'd be awake, so it doesn't matter to me. It's going to be an interesting bill.
Yeah.
So your chair, so really quick, let's go through the quick process of how an idea becomes a law. It's basically you as a legislature introduce an idea.
Yes, you introduce an idea, you pick up co-sponsors. Well, you send it to the revisor's office, then you pick up your co-sponsors. It comes out. As a chair, I'll work with the Senate chair, and we'll try to combine like items into discussion on the same day. So, you know, for efficiency. And, you know, a lot of them do overlap. And in the past, if you just worked them when they came, then you have folks coming from the county one day for this, then 2 days later for another bill. You know, we're trying to be considerate of the people who have to travel. It comes to the committee. We figure out, now that we know it's coming to our committee, we figure out what bills we're going to hear together. We'll have a public hearing, discussion, then we'll have a work session and vote on the bill and move on.
It's good to hear you're bulking them up, because that was one of my things I tried for 4 of my 8 years as a senator, is that I'm the committee chair. Here are my list of bills. Here are the ones that I know are related. So if I put myself in Fish and Wildlife, 5 bills related to doe hunting.
Yeah.
Go to the revisor's office. These are the priority we want you to spend time on doing, because we're going to run those together.
Yes.
What they usually do is just run through the numerical set.
Yeah.
And then so and we used to do is a bill like, I use doe hunting as an example, one bill would come in, we would hold that until we had the other 3 bills that were in there. And then once we had those 3 bills, we could do just what you described, is to have one day a hearing so that everybody can come in and do that. So it's good to hear that they're finally doing that.
Yeah, it's got to be done that way. And the Senate chair is Senator Jim Dill. He's very laid back, and we think alike. And I'm actually on the best committee there is in the State House. You know, the Inland Fishery and Wildlife.
Environment and Natural Resources was when I was there. Yeah. But that's all right. I passed the baton for a while.
Yeah, no, I think we got the best one.
Well, you know, it's the one thing about Inland Fisheries and Wildlife and your other committee, Ag, is there really isn't any politics with it. None. It's, you know, you grow corn just one way. You grow potatoes one way. The controversy might be around pesticides, perhaps.
Yeah.
Go to Fish and Wildlife. Again, it's not Democrat or Republican. Fish and Wildlife was and still is a prime committee to be on.
Oh, everybody wants to be on that committee, and it's pretty much the same as it was in the past session. We've got a couple new additions. Senator Black got to be on that committee. He's tickled pink, so he and I will be traveling together to 2 committees. Well, I don't know if we should say we're traveling together.
You're going to wear your masks, right?
Yeah.
And they'll be 6 feet apart, so he'll be taking his truck, you'll be riding in the back.
Yeah, exactly. But then on agriculture, we also have Representative Schofield from Weld and Representative Hall from Wilton. So 4 of us on agriculture representing agriculture, conservation, and forestry. And those are important items for Franklin County.
And you know, it's interesting, I was just thinking about it. That's because of the 4 on you, and you are an active gentleman farmer. You all are farmers.
Yes.
Where I think if you go through the rest of the legislature, there aren't many other farmers that are there. It used to be at one time, I was the last, after Walter graduated and went to grow Christmas trees full time, there were only 2 foresters in the place. So the professions that are so important to Franklin County are now represented with you 4 there. So we expect to see a lot of good things coming to Franklin County out of the Ag Committee.
Yeah. You mean like money?
And special bill permits for all those people who live in Franklin County. If not, we're going to have to talk, you know. So you looked at some of the bills. What are some of the bills you see coming at you? Let me go back to committee stuff before we do that. How are you going to do the public participation or That's one. And then if I wanted to lobby a bill, how am I going to be able to do that?
Zoom or the phone.
Zoom or the phone.
Yeah,
So it's
and we're getting a lot of training in Zoom. And what's hard is a Zoom meeting is totally public. But if you want to discuss a bill, you have to talk to your counterparts on the committee to work something. And you can't always do that in the public eye. And so that's going to be interesting. There are chat rooms in
yeah, because but you
breakout
like you said,
rooms.
you really didn't do caucusing in the Ag Committee and the Fish and Wildlife. They did in Ag a couple times, but not in Fish and Wildlife. But so you've got to build up on doe hunting, and I want to testify. I'll find out the date. They'll publicize that. They'll give me the call-in numbers.
You'll
and
have
all
to
that.
register and call in.
Call in.
And the big discussion is going to be committee by committee as to how long or how many people are interested in that bill as to how long they can talk.
Yeah.
We've got a real strong weapon now called the mute button.
Yeah, on Zoom you do it. You know, that was because those that didn't testify, you had a nice clock, and it was green, and then like 10 seconds out it turned yellow, and then 5 seconds out it turned red. And so you were clear if you were testifying where you stood.
Yeah.
You knew where you were. And sometimes the chair would give them a little bit of leniency. Although the one I know I got no leniency was last year when I testified was utilities, because Mark Lawrence ran a tight ship.
Oh, he
said,
does.
Boom, done. You're done. Thank you very much, Senator. Finish up. But then you get to, so in this case, so the time's off, the chair just goes, poop, moot, you can talk all you want, you can yell and scream, but nobody's going to hear a word.
Nobody's
you said.
listening.
So then a work session, that's going to be different then too. Because
Yes.
people can watch the work session.
But they can't participate.
And they're not supposed to participate unless you choose to do that. But oftentimes the way, and actually you'll be able to do that because you have private chat.
Yes.
So it used to be that I would send a note, if I would get a note from the audience that said, you know, say you were testifying on a bill, Tom, I've got something I can offer, or you could ask me this and I can help you with that. So I get that note and I would call on you to participate in the work session. I would imagine there is the quiet chat, the private chat section where you can say, hey, you may want to ask Saviello, he knows this a little bit about that. So
it's a breakout room.
Yeah.
And in the breakout room, it's totally private. You see exactly who's in there, and it doesn't go over the internet, which is what we're going to need, because in IF&W, we all work so well together that rather than waste time and go through the whole rigmarole, you know, if there was a coffee break, we'd kind of end up getting a coffee together and figure out a bill. 95% of the bills were unanimous because we had that ability and were willing to do that. My House lead is Representative Tim Terrio from China, and we become great friends. And, you know, I call him, and we're co-sponsoring things, and we're working together for the good of the department.
That's good. I mean, and I mean, again, you're on one of those committees that's a little less controversial to do that. You get to taxation, you get to even utilities is the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically, you end up, unfortunately, get into partisan battles that are ugly, particularly in Health and Human Services. I would never serve on that committee.
No, me either.
Never serve on that committee.
No.
And it'll be interesting to see how that one comes out. What are some of the bills that you've sponsored?
I've got 5 in there. One of them is a department bill to amend laws regulating inland fishery and wildlife. So, you know, they're concept bills, so whatever needs to be addressed can be addressed.
They're like what I called, at the end of the session, oftentimes you find little tweaks you have to do to the bill. And if you don't have something introduced, you don't have a way to go in and fix it.
Yeah.
So I assume that Judy has come up with some things that they've identified that they'll come in and do that as a concept draft, and then they'll explain to them what they want to have tweaked and so forth. Exactly.
And then one you're well familiar with, the act to remove the municipal ordinance exemption for the development of certain high-impact electric transmission lines.
So just so that I can explain what we're working on there with you is that right now, if the town of Farmington or New Sharon or any of the towns that the CMP corridor is coming through, and they develop an ordinance, not to say no, but simply say we have some requirements in our community that we want to have followed. So like in New Sharon, they said if the poles are greater than 35 feet, then you have to go underground. Yeah. And CMP objects to that because it's expensive. Great, I understand that. However, the town is protecting their citizens. That's what the planning board is saying. They're not saying you can't do it. They're not prohibiting it. They're simply saying what should have the alternative. Central Maine Power has written them a letter and says you can't do that, and if you continue on this path, we'll see you in front of the Public Utilities Commission, because they have the right to override any community and the decisions that they make. Well, to me, that makes a lot of sense if that power is going to go between Chesterville and Wilton, and it's going to come through Farmington, and Farmington has put up a law that says you can't do that. No, where electricity is critical to the citizens of the state of Maine. But if you're going to put in a line to profit from it, then that needs to be exempt from the ability of PUC to override that law. So this is just going to say that in the future, if we have any other CMP type projects come in, high power lines, that the town is going to have a say. And so people know the Maine Constitution and statute actually protect the town of something called home rule. And so this is just going to say that's going to fit back into home rule. You wanted to put a regular power line in? Go ahead, no problem. If you're going to put something different in, towns have justification over it.
And this is on future.
That's on future,
on
not
future.
on this one. It's basically would be on future.
I've got another one in here, which is brought to me by a constituent in New Sharon. An act to simplify the NEDA permit distribution system and include the ability to purchase doe tags. So the doe permitting system now is a lottery. We've got to find out how efficient it is. But our thought is that if a hunter wants to buy a doe tag and save his regular tag, waiting for a buck, he can shoot a doe for camp meat or whatever and tag it. But I feel that's a more efficient way of controlling the population, because these people, if they're paying to buy 20, 25 bucks to buy a tag, they're going to shoot a doe. And that's what we're trying to do, is to control the population. And I know situations where families have 4 kids and all 4 kids have doe tags that never get used. What are you gaining from that?
Good point. So you still would be within the tag numbers that are issued, population protection, but within that you could buy it. So you'd keep so many out as you could sell.
Yes.
Helps the department financially. I mean,
it will.
It's the department, if I remember correctly, is like 70% funded on outside funds, not the general fund.
Exactly.
Very little money comes from the
We're
general
the
fund.
most profitable department there.
Yeah, so this is just going to help money come back in again to reinforce what the department is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've got another one, an act to extend electronic proof of registration to ATVs, snowmobile, and watercraft. You don't have to have your registration. You pull out your phone, you got a copy of your registration. It's simple.
Yeah, yeah.
And there shouldn't be any issue with that at all. And it's more efficient, and again, it saves money for the department. Those who don't need the paper or want to do everything electronically,
Yeah, so I would have my phone, and if I got stopped for a question or just checking my inspection, I can take my phone, just like you can go on to the airlines now. You can go on, or used to be, I'm sure it's still the same. I can pull up my ticket with the barcode on it and just move my phone over it.
Exactly.
I still stick to my paper ticket. But
it's good to have.
Yeah, it's good to have.
And the other one I've got in is a resubmission of a bill we had last session, an act to increase the number of Franklin County commissioners, which was passed and approved. It went into law, but when it was written, there was a loophole in there so that the commissioners had the option of putting it out to vote. Well, we're sewing up that loophole and we're resubmitting it. The whole idea of the bill is the tax base in Franklin County has changed. Farmington and Jay no longer are 1 and 2. It's the northern part of the county. The tourism is becoming a great part of our economy, and Sugarloaf and Saddleback, they need some representation, and they have one gentleman, Clyde Barker, to represent him, and nothing against Clyde. I love him, he's a good guy, but he's got representing more of the tax base than the other 2. So the power's all down here, and everybody likes power, but let's spread it around and give everybody a fair shake.
Well, and a couple things viewers should know is that this does not increase the budget.
No.
There are those who go out there and misuse that. They will not increase the budget unless the budget committee decides to do so. So if there's and make it really simple, if there's $12,000 in there for 3 salaries, just $12,000, so divided by 3, each gets $4,000. They actually get closer to $6,000, I think. But
Well, I think they get 12,000
they get
apiece.
12,000 apiece and I get, just so to give you a perspective, as a town selectman and you, we get about $1,600 to $1,800 a year.
We get 2,000 in Farmington.
So for the same number of meetings, the same number of other stuff, they get $12,000. So that's basically $36,000. So if you had 5 representatives, you would divide that $36,000 by 5 instead of by 3, which is a reasonable number. The second thing, you make a great point, is that this area has changed dramatically. So some people will say, well, it's been this way for 200 years. Well, that's right. 200 years ago, Sugarloaf and Carabasset Valley was known as Jerusalem Township.
Yeah.
It's not Jerusalem Township anymore. It is literally Carabasset Valley.
Yeah.
With a huge income value there because the property owners are there. And Dave Cota, the town manager, is all for this.
Oh, he certainly is.
And when they did the other bill, they kind of came up with a configuration that ultimately, Rangeley would be kind of a center, like a mini county seat. Carabasset Valley would be one, Farmington would be one, Wilton would be one, and Jay would be one. And each of those communities, or the towns around them, contiguous towns, which would be defined, would have their own county commissioner to carry out the conversation.
And an interesting thing about the whole thing, and it's not political. Everybody who's going to sign on to the bill is in agreement. All of my fellow representatives and Senator Black. It's not political. We could elect 5 Republicans. That's fine. Right. But as long as that representative or that commissioner has to answer to his community and represent his community, that's what this job's about, is taking care of your constituents.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes sense to me. There are those people who say you're only doing this because you don't like the way they voted. I have done this before, years ago when Fred Hardy was still alive. And ultimately the bill died because Fred said we weren't ready for it yet. But I think if Fred were around today, he would have a different opinion because of the way the communities have changed so dramatically. And Jay's dramatically influenced now. They probably do want to have a voice because even though they've lost the valuation of the mill, they're still probably going to be in the top 5.
Yes.
So what gets decided here at the county level, they probably want to have a little bit more voice in how that happens.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and it will go out to the voters.
That's correct.
And it will be on a regular election schedule, so it will be no additional charge to the county to put on a special election to do it.
And when would it be on the ballot, Scott? Probably 2022.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Probably, so it's a good bill.
Yeah,
it's one that, again, like all the other things I work on, the people should have a choice. If they want this, they can vote for it. If they don't want it, and we're happy with the 3 county commissioners, great. They've got the 3 county commissioners going forward. Anything else that you've got?
Oh, those are all I'm working on. I've been asked by several Republicans to co-sponsor some bills with them, and I have one to give landlords access to some of the rent relief money that currently, or in the prior package, it had to go through the tenant. Well, if you've got a tenant who hasn't paid you any money for 9 months and there's money left in the fund, the landlord should have access to some.
That's a good deal. I mean, that's one of the concerns I even have for Ben. Ben's got a duplex, and he's renting out his space below. Now, all of a sudden, COVID hits, that guy loses his job. That's half of his mortgage that he has to make up for. That guy can just continue to live there and not pay anything, but he's got all this relief money coming into him, renter relief. Well, then there should be a stipulation that some of that renter relief come in and go to the landlord, at least to cover the fixed costs of the operation.
Oh, exactly. I've heard some horror stories about people not, being in a unit now for 9 months, getting the extended unemployment benefit, then going back to work full time, 2 people, and not paying a penny because they don't have to.
Yeah, something wrong. That's part of the broken system that was out there. I mean, you had to do something. If you didn't, we'd be in a horrible depression right now. So I don't disagree with that. Unfortunately, my granddaughter, if she moves back to Maine, will be paying that bill when she's our age, but it needs to be done.
And another interesting one is Representative Hickman, who's pretty far out there, had a right to agriculture bill, right to eat bill. And the way it was written, a lot of the conservatives didn't feel it was good because it mandated that somebody could come onto your land and take food. Well, the bill was reworked and rewritten and never got to a vote. So a friend of mine, Representative Billy Bob Falkingham, he's very conservative, has brought the bill up and he asked me to co-sponsor it.
Great.
And so, and that's what we've got to do down there. We've got to work together. And Billy Bob is about as conservative
as you can get. Yeah, absolutely right. Right now, Billy Bob and one of his conservative ladies is suing the state because they don't think someone getting petition signatures should have to be from the state. They think they should be from all over the place. It's like, wait a minute, that's where Republicans put that requirement into place, and now you want to destroy it. That doesn't make much sense.
Billy Bob, I sometimes wonder.
Yeah.
But he's a lobsterman. He's a really good guy.
So have you found any funny bills yet? Have you looked up?
I haven't had a chance.
So,
I've been so zoomed out.
Yeah, I'm sure. The only one that I heard that somebody said to me is that there's a bill and legislators cannot legislate if they're intoxicated.
Why not?
I don't know. They probably do a better job. It used to be down there that everybody had a bar in their desk. Now that happened before I got there. But if you would, during the break, they'd pull out their drawer, take out their good bottle of bourbon or scotch, and they would have a couple of sips. The president's office, I was told, you went in there and he had a bar set up.
Yeah.
That's probably when we got along really well.
Yeah.
But that was all done away with. In fact, I laugh. When my committee one time on the bottle bill, somebody brought in a big bottle of coffee brandy. So I appropriately confiscated it and put it in my back office with a couple bottles of wine.
Yeah.
And for a year, it sat up on the file cabinet. I didn't think anything of it. Well, I came in one day, and the Capitol Police chief came up to me. I said, "Hey, chief, how you doing?" He said, "Tom, can I talk to you?" Sure. He said, "Do you have booze in your office?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You have to get rid of it." I said, "What?" He said, "Somebody's complained." So I just took it off, put it in the drawer.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can't have that there, so.
Well, you can't have food in the chamber or drink.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. It's because
Mice.
The mice, exactly. One year, I guess somebody left a whole bunch of food, and the mice came to visit and really did damage on that. Well, Scott, this is great. Thanks for coming on. Maybe what we can do is, in a couple of weeks, 6 weeks or so, have you come back on again and kind of give us an update of where your bills are. I know that we didn't talk about the supplemental budget, but my understanding is that it's going to get us through. There's no tax increase. There's enough surplus. That there's enough business that did okay.
Yep.
And that's really good. So we'll maybe have some more discussions about this.
No, sounds good.
Scotty boy, it's always a pleasure, my friend.
Yep.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody, and please, for both of us, stay healthy out there. We'll see you next time from the Talkin Maine and the Bowtie Boys.